morning, everybody. Top of the morning to you this January 27th, 2023. We got some updates for you guys today about what's going on with Project Veritas and the whole Pfizer story. If you haven't seen it yet, it's pretty wild. If you haven't seen it yet, it's pretty nuts. You're not gonna want to miss that. Also, South Huntington schools are now putting armed guards outside at a significant cost to the taxpayer because apparently crime has just gotten out of control near Walt Whitman High School. Good morning, Russell. Also, there's going to be a special election in Nassau County. You guys make sure you guys pay attention on that to make up for the Steve Rhodes seat. We're going to go over that. Also, we got, let's see, what do we got here? Oh, yeah, the big one, Memphis is, there's probably going to be riots in Memphis tonight after this video comes out. We're going to talk all about that. But before we get started, guys, make sure you guys smash that Rumble button if you're watching over there. Share this video out on all your social media platforms. If you are on Facebook, hit that like button. Invite some friends to like the page. Help this channel continue to grow. We got some big announcements coming up for what we're going to be doing here over at the Loud Majority. We're going to be bringing on 2 or 3 more shows to really build out a serious network here, and I'm super excited about what's going to be going on there. So you guys aren't going to want to miss out on that, building out some serious infrastructure here over at the Loud Majority. Before we get into the story I was going to talk about today, the South Huntington story, I want to give you guys a quick update on what's going on with Project Veritas and Pfizer. So if you guys didn't get to see the video, frankly, I really don't know what the hell you are doing. But here is the original video from Project Veritas. We're going to watch about a minute and a half of this, of a Pfizer CEO talking about how they're basically manipulating the COVID virus to produce more vaccines. So this is from a couple days ago.
Pfizer ultimately is thinking about mutating COVID?
Well, that is not what we say to the public. No, don't tell anyone this. You probably shouldn't tell anyone. You probably shouldn't tell anyone. Okay? We're exploring, like, now, you know how the virus keeps mutating?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're exploring is, like, why don't we just mutate it ourselves so we could create undoubtedly develop new vaccines, right? So we have to do that. If we're going to do that, though, there's a risk of, like, as you could imagine, no one wants to be having a pharma company mutating viruses. You have to be, like, very controlled to make sure that this virus that you mutate doesn't create something that, like, you know, it goes everywhere.
Something crazy.
Is the way that the virus started in Wuhan. To be honest, like, it makes no sense if this virus popped out of nowhere. Like,
yeah, I know.
Meet Jordan Tristan Walker, a director of research and development strategic operations and mRNA scientific planning at Pfizer.
It sounds like gain of function to me.
I don't know, it's a little bit different. I think it's different. It's like, it's definitely not gain of function.
It sounds like it is. I mean, it's okay.
No, directed evolution is very different. Well, you're not supposed to do gain of function research with the viruses. Like,
yeah,
they recommend not. But you do, like, these, like, selected directional mutations to try to see if you can make more potent.
Yeah.
So there is research ongoing about that. I don't know how that's gonna work. There not be any more outbreaks, because, like, Jesus Christ.
The gentleman.
That's that was unbelievable in and of itself, that they were able to capture the head of research, the head of digital research and marketing over at Pfizer, basically admitting that they're trying to get out ahead of the vaccines by well, you see later in the video, they talk about how they do this sort of testing. They do it on live monkeys, and then whichever strain is strongest, they leave that live monkey, that sick monkey, in with other normal monkeys to help facilitate what they call directed evolution, which directed evolution is also known as gain of function research, which we all know is absolutely illegal. And not only is it legal, but it's morally and ethically wrong. You know, it's just wrong in general. We shouldn't be making viruses that are stronger just to see what we can do. You know, they're playing around with science. So, as James O'Keefe always does, he then confronts this executive. And look, I've been following Veritas for a while. I'm friends with them over there. They're awesome people. And I have never seen anything like this confrontation that went on when James confronted Jordan Tristan Walker, who conveniently enough removed his Twitter account the other day, which is I wonder why the hell that could have happened. So here's what happens when they confront them.
Hey there, is this seat taken? You work for Pfizer. My question for you is, why does Pfizer want to hide from the public the fact that they're mutating the COVID viruses?
Is this real life? I'm literally a liar. I was trying to impress a person on a date by lying.
And
This is
please
absurd.
don't touch me. Well, this is not. By the way,
Why are you doing
don't
this?
tell anybody.
This is someone who's just working at a company to literally help the public. You f***ed up. You really did. Please bring the cops as soon as possible. I'm feeling very unsafe.
Can you please unlock your door?
No, don't let them leave.
Please unlock the door.
Give me, what is going
give
on
us our
here?
stuff.
Oh,
Please unlock. Please unlock the door. Please unlock the door. Unlock the door. The door. We're trying to unlock the door. Unlock the door.
I mean, I'm sure you guys have been watching Project Veritas videos for as long as I have, and I'm sure you've never seen anything like that. This guy absolutely freaks out, probably because he knows his life is over. And which bears the question, if you watch the first video, does it sound like the guy is lying to impress someone on a date? Or does he sound fairly confident in what he's talking about? Moreover, does he sound fairly confident in what he's talking about when he talks about the revolving door that goes on between government and their regulators at some of these big pharma companies? As a matter of fact, the guy even goes so far as to say it's just like the military-industrial complex where the generals end up working at the defense contractors. He claims that the regulators over at places like the NIH and the FDA end up working at some of these top pharmaceutical companies. So why would they regulate them as strongly as they probably should be if they know there's a job in it for them in the future? This is probably one of their most important videos, if not their most entertaining video. Both of those videos are up all over the place. It's funny, though. The initial video was taken down. Was taken down in the Google searches. Shocking. If you typed in last night, I'm not sure if you can still do it now, but it was taken down in Google searches. If you typed in Project Veritas Pfizer, a little warning came up that said, "Are you sure you want to watch this?" Which is the sort of warning you get when you're watching like violent content, overly violent, real content on Google. So it turns out the social media guardians are still at it. They are not stopping. They are still trying to censor the truth. But that's why it's so important for you guys to share out shows like this one and everyone else across the LFA platform, because over on Rumble, we're able to say anything we want without really anything happening to us. So we're able to talk about videos like this without worrying about big tech censorship, without worrying about anything happening. So it's so important that you guys share out shows like this, because you're not going to see this anywhere. I mean, hell, really the only person that talked about this last night, even on Fox News, was Tucker Carlson. He seems to be the only one fighting the culture war over there. That's it. So if you guys head on over to all of the Project Veritas social medias, they're on everything. Give them a follow. I'm sure there'll be more content coming about this. It's wild to see what's going on. But I'm actually working on a big story about Twitter, about what's going on over there, why it sucks, and why it's taking Elon Musk a little bit longer than we thought to do these sorts of things. But I want to get to the big story of the day here on Long Island, a story that is not getting enough play, I think, and it's pretty terrifying, if I'm being honest with you. This from Newsday: South Huntington schools will station armed guards outside of all buildings. Armed guards will be stationed outside of all South Huntington school buildings by the end of the month, one of the several Long Island schools making this choice as school shootings continue to terrify a nationwide trend. Now, I am curious as to see, obviously they say it's about school shootings, which I don't know if I truly believe that's why they're doing it. Because if they were doing it for that, why would the armed guards be stationed outside of the school and not inside of the school? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I am one of the few conservatives that will say publicly, I am not in favor of arming teachers. I would rather not have guns inside of the school. I would rather build up a culture where we have people that stop shooting up schools to begin with, much the same way it was when I grew up, when I'm sure a lot of you grew up, where we didn't have people coming in and shooting up schools. I think one easy way to do it would be to not tell them that there's armed guards inside of the schools, like taking away gun-free zone signs, but that's neither here nor there. I think the reason why, and look, they're doing it in South Huntington. They're not doing it in Port Washington. They're not doing it in Eastport South Manor. They're not doing it in Syosset. Is it possible that the reason why they're doing it in South Huntington is because of the crime outside of the schools, because of the neighborhood outside of Walt Whitman High School, that is no longer safe for students to walk to and from school because of the rise in crime. We'll see if this article dives into it, but Craig Schneider at Newsday wrote it, so I highly doubt it. The South Huntington School Board voted unanimously Wednesday night to implement new security measures. The guards will not be inside the school building during the instructional day unless there is an emergency like an armed threat that requires their assistance, according to the district. Quote, while we understand the gravity and the importance of this decision, we know that it was not made lightly, and our main goal as a district and the Board of Education is to ensure the safety and security of all times, end quote. The South Huntington Superintendent Vito Delia, said in a letter to the community, given the recent events that have plagued our nation regarding gun violence in our schools, we felt the added measure was a necessary step. The district has about 4,800 students. The guards would patrol 2 elementary schools that are K through 2, 2 intermediate schools, which is 3 through 5, and Stimson Middle School, which is 7th and 8th grade, and Walt Whitman High School. Armed security guards will also be utilized at select night and weekend events and activities outside of the normal school hours. The superintendent said there is no exact time when the Huntington's armed security may start, but the superintendent told the community the armed guards will be monitoring the schools in the near future. Here's what's incredibly important. In an interview, the school superintendent said the district approved a $750,000 contract with the Melville-based Upfront Security Association, who were approved and vetted as the lowest bidder. The firm provides armed corporate and special event security, the website said. So this is going to cost almost $1 million. I'm sure once it gets to overtime, it'll be well over $1 million this school is spending on security. I have a better idea. Why don't we just raise better children? Why don't we just raise kids who aren't going to go and shoot up a school? Moreover, why don't we just arrest the criminals that are outside of the schools to curb the violence near our schools? Why don't we just do that? Wouldn't that be a whole hell of a lot easier? The district has not said how many guards will be hired, except noting that at least 1 guard will be stationed outside every building with students, including the district office. Multiple guards will be stationed outside of Walt Whitman High School. That's interesting. Thank you for letting us know. We're all... See, this is what's so interesting about all these complaints about school security and school shootings and everything like and all that. The Daily Wire actually made a great movie about it. The name escapes me at the moment, but it turns out when you tell people, superintendent of South Huntington School District, you idiot, where there will be more security, it turns out where there is less security is where violent idiots will attack. It's not going to be hard. The movie in the Daily Wire, the movie the Daily Wire did about a school shooting. In the movie, they talk about how all the kids know the protocols for when there is a school shooting, so that school shooters then learn what happens if there is a school shooting. Maybe you shouldn't be telling people that. Dave Chappelle also has got an incredible joke about it, about how his kids had to go to a school shooting drill. And when he heard about this, he said, wait, so the school is doing a school shooting drill. Aren't you just training the future school shooter on where everyone's going to be if there's a school shooting? But these people don't think like that. They don't think in rational terms. All they know is they just spent about $1 million on something that could be fixed with slightly better parenting. The armed guards will supplement additional security provided by the district and Suffolk County Police. He said the district was spurred to consider the armed guards following the shooting that killed 19 students and 2 teachers last May at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. You see, but this is the problem with this sort of thinking. This is the problem with this sort of thinking, is that they had armed guards at Uvalde, and it turns out they sucked. They were a bunch of cowards. This is a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. I hate to use that sort of analogy, but this is a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. The problem is, why do we have so many people trying to shoot up schools? What are we doing as a culture that is instigating this high number of school shootings? And don't tell me it's the guns. California, Chicago, and New York have the highest shootings in the world, have the highest murder rates in the entire country, and they have the strongest gun law, so please don't tell me that, because that would be your way of letting me know that you're, in fact, dumb. When you look at what happened, quote, when you look at what happened in Texas, that's really what got us thinking, the superintendent said. You see innocent lives and senseless tragedies, and we look at what we can do overall to make our security better in South Huntington. There's mixed reaction, of course, coming from the community. The Southampton Teachers Association president, Dennis Callahan, questioned the hiring of armed guards at the school board meeting Wednesday night. Of course he did, because the Teachers Association only cares about getting raises for their teachers, despite the fact that they're doing a terrible job teaching some of these students. He noted that the armed guards at Columbine in Littleton, Colorado, and Parkland, Florida, as well as Uvalde that responded last year, were unable to stop the mass shootings. We are asking schools to solve a problem that society has yet found a solution to. What's going to make South Huntington different? When it didn't help there. Look, and I don't like people that work for the teachers unions. I think they're all hacks, and I think they do a terrible job representing our community and helping out our students. But this guy's got a point. This guy's got a point. Why don't we as a culture, I don't know, why don't we stop hooking our kids up on SSRIs, Ritalin and Adderall when they're 9 years old? I'm sure that has some effect on brain function. Why don't we stop getting divorced? It turns out that most of these school shooters, most of them, came from single-parent divorced households, broken homes. Why don't we get the kids off the video games and outside touching grass? You know, the way they did it for years. The way we raised children for years. Maybe these sorts of things wouldn't happen. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's the advantage of being a conservative. I'm allowed to admit when maybe I don't have the answer, unlike liberals who always seem to know that they're always right. This back to the article. South Huntington school officials expressed confidence in the former NYPD, Nassau County, and Suffolk County police officers that they would hire as the armed guards. Several parents interviewed at Oakwood Primary Center in Huntington Station said Thursday afternoon that they were in favor of arming the guards if it meant keeping the kids safe. One parent said that every school should have security, and he supports the armed guards if they were properly trained. Look, do I think it's a bad thing that this is happening? No. Do I think it's a bad thing that we as a society need this sort of thing to happen? Yes. Yes, I do. I do think that. Much like South Huntington, Montauk schools were prompted to act to reduce response times from up to 8 minutes in the wake of the Parkland shooting. The Montauk district employs a total of 4 armed security personnel, and the school has 1 officer serving a day, Superintendent Jack Perna said. They are all retired police officers, and the cost to the district is $80,000 a year. There's been no incident requiring armed security guards at the schools. So it turns out Montauk school districts can pay $80,000 a year, while South Huntington has to pay $750,000 a year. That's incredibly interesting. Tuckahoe superintendent said that the district employs retired school resource officers from the Southampton Police Department. The district serves pre-K through 8th grade all in one building. It is a perfect opportunity to provide added security using individuals our schools and communities already have confidence in. Suffolk County Police declined to comment. Look, like I said, this is definitely a divided issue when it comes to arming teachers or putting armed guards in the schools. I would much rather have armed guards than an armed chemistry teacher. That's just me. But as I've said numerous times, I think it would be far better for us as a culture to just foster young people who don't want to shoot up their school, who aren't so pissed off at the world that they want to kill everyone. Perhaps that would be better, and there's numerous ways we could do that. Particularly as we see the rise of social anxiety and depression getting even higher among young people. It's a terrifying thing. Let's see. Where are we at? Ken Trump, the president of the Ohio-based consulting National School Safety and Security Services, said calls for armed school security spiked after the major incidents at Sandy Hook and Uvalde. While a number of schools using them has increased since Columbine, he still believes the majority of school districts do not want armed guards, quote, but it's not uncommon. He said the effectiveness of armed guards is a mixed bag. These guards have removed numerous guns on school grounds, but there have also been times where they have long waiting periods before entering a scene. He said the greatest use may be simply as a deterrent and prevention measure. And that's what's important. That's the only reason why I could see this happening. The only reason why I would agree with this happening is because if people know, look, now you know if you're going to go shoot up a school, don't do it in Huntington. Because there's going to be somebody who shoots back. There's going to be somebody who shoots back. And like I said, I just wish we currently lived in a time where this kind of crap was not necessary, where this kind of stuff wasn't necessary. But unfortunately, we don't. Unfortunately, we as a culture, we as a society have obviously screwed around and not understood the problems going on with our young people and with our youth. It's sad. It's absolutely sad. Got a couple more local stories here before I get to the big national one that I really, really hope I'm wrong about. There's going to be a special election in February for Nassau's 19th legislative seat, which was vacated by Steve Rhodes. The election will be set for February 28th. The County Board of Elections said on Thursday. Rhodes, a Republican from Wantagh, was sworn in as a state senator earlier this month and has represented the county's 19th legislative district. So, guys, we gotta get out there. We gotta get out there. This is Massapequa, Nassau, South Shore, Belmore, Freeport, South Merrick, Seaford, and Wantagh. So basically everything west of Massapequa all the way up to like the Oceanside area. That's Steve Rhodes' former district. So if we want to keep that seat, we're going to have to get out there. I'll be talking to some of the party people to see what they need and what we can do to get some boots on the ground over there. Rhodes defeated Senator John Brooks, who should have never had the seat in the first place, but did because Newsday wrote a bullshit article about the former state senator Mike Vendetta, who I used to work for. Oh, sorry, that's not in the article. I just decided to throw that one in. Rhodes beat John Brooks by 28,000 votes on November 8th as part of the big Republican wins that flipped Democratic seats in the state and federal elections across Nassau County. In a special election, the leaders of both political committees will nominate one candidate. There will be no primary, so it's pretty much whoever the parties end up picking. Each party has until February 2nd to file documents on behalf of their candidates with the Board of Elections. The state and Nassau County Democratic Chairman Jay Jacobs declined to comment, saying it's too soon to announce who the party will select. Mike Deary, spokesman for the Nassau County Republican Committee, said he would not be able to provide candidate information. Currently, the Republicans hold a 12-7 majority in the legislature. So it's so important for us to get out there and keep that supermajority, keep that giant majority in Nassau County. We're up 5 seats in Nassau County. I believe we're up 6 seats in Suffolk County. This is what I'm talking about. Everyone watching this, you guys did that. You guys did that despite what anybody wants to say. Voter turnout has been incredibly high because each one of you have stayed engaged. Since January of 2022, Republicans have held county-wide offices, county executive, district attorney, and the comptroller. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys who came out to all of those elections, put the boots on the ground, did what is necessary to be done in order to keep this going. In order to keep this wave going, to do our part. If only we had a nationwide presence, if only what we did out here on Long Island was able to be replicated nationwide, perhaps we would have seen the red wave that we were supposed to have. Perhaps we would have seen that. Unfortunately, some people don't want us to go national. They'd rather stay here and just rah, rah, rah on a street corner. But some of us are trying to build out something a little bit bigger, a little bit broader, so that we can have the sort of national impact that we can have. Before we get to the big story about what's happening in Memphis tonight, what may be happening in Memphis tonight, guys, make sure you guys, if you're watching on Rumble, smash that Rumble button, share this video out all over the place, all across your social media platforms. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that like button. Share this video out into all your local groups so that people know there's an election coming up in just 1 month. It's incredibly important that we keep Steve Rhodes' seat. Also, invite your friends to like the page so that they never miss out on anything that's going on. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button. It really helps the video content. Also, head on over to loudmajorityus.com. As always, sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That's the best way to support what we've got going on over here at the Loud Majority. We got the new office up here on the North Shore. Very excited about what's happening over there. Also, guys, I'm fully aware of something that is happening in Smithtown tomorrow. I don't want to get into it because I really don't want to give it any oxygen. Some people have messaged me about it. Just know that I'm aware of what's happening, and you should probably expect there to be some video content coming out about it on Friday. If you don't know, like I said, I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody. However, I just don't really want to give this sort of any oxygen because people are idiots. People are idiots. Moreover, not only people on the left are idiots, many people on our own side seem to do whatever they can do to try to bring us down, bring the loud majority down, and it's been a wild failure. I mean, it's shocking to me sometimes when I see how badly people are failing at this. Our numbers are growing more and more every day, and it's because of people like you. It's because you guys believe in what we have going on. I don't want to talk about what's happening with what happened to Rhodes. Rhodes was elected to the state senate, so his seat was vacated. That's what happened with Steve Rhodes. Love Steve Rhodes, awesome dude. You know what? Maybe I'll try to get Steve on the show. That'll be fun. But as I said, I know what's happening in Smithtown tomorrow, and we're just going to ignore it and maybe have a little bit of fun with them. I'm sure they're in the chat right now because they can't not watch. Although you should probably be paying attention in high school if you're the one who organized this little protest. But big story. Memphis bracing for riots after 5 former Memphis police officers were charged in a man's death. The city braces for potential riots. This from the Daily Wire. One second. This from the Daily Wire. 5 former Memphis Police Department officers are in custody and face several charges after their involvement in the death of a 19-year-old male who died earlier this month in a hospital days after a confrontation with authorities. Trey Nichols died on January 10th, 3 days after Memphis police pulled him over in a traffic stop, local media reported. Nichols and the 5 former officers involved are black, so it's important to understand that when idiots in the media are going to blame these riots on white supremacy, just know these are 5 black cops who were involved in an altercation that led to the death of another black man. I'm sorry, not my fault. Not my fault. I have nothing to do with it. Authorities stopped Nichols on January 7th for reckless driving near Rains Road and Ross Road in Memphis, Fox News reported. Police told local media that during the stop, a confrontation occurred, at which point Nichols ran away from the police on foot as they attempted to apprehend him. While they were attempting to take the suspect into custody, another confrontation occurred. However, the suspect was ultimately apprehended, Memphis Police Department said. Afterward, the suspect complained about having shortness of breath, at which point he was put in an ambulance that was already called to the scene. All of the officers have been charged with 2 counts of misconduct, local media reported, with 1 count of official oppression. What the hell does that mean? Second-degree murder, aggravated assault act in concert, and 2 counts of aggravated kidnapping, which seems a little bit much. Local media reported authorities were charged officially with misconduct, unauthorized exercise of official power, official misconduct, failure to perform a duty imposed by law, official oppression, which I gotta look that up on what the hell that means. Second-degree murder, aggravated assault in act in Congress, in concert, and aggravated kidnapping causing bodily harm, and aggravated kidnapping while in possession of a weapon. That's unbelievable. Local media reported that 2 of the officers are in jail on $350,000 bond, and the other 3 officers' bond was set at $250,000. Attorney Bill Massey, representing Martin, representing one of the cops, told local media he was indicted and turned himself into authorities. Memphis Police Chief Davis issued a statement Wednesday night about the investigation. In light of the horrific situation surrounding the death of Trey Nichols, it is absolutely incumbent upon me, your chief, to address the situation of what Memphis Police Department is doing and has done and will continue to do furtherance of finding truth in this tragic loss, ensuring we communicate with honesty and transparency, and that there is absolutely no absolute accountability for those responsible in Trey's death. Look, apparently these 5 officers went above and beyond what anyone would consider reasonable behavior. The body cam footage has not been released yet. It's going to be released tonight. And because I don't know why they'd release it on a Friday. To me, this seems the way everyone's talking about this police body camera footage, this is going to be bad. This is going to be very, very bad. Apparently, they are comparing this to the footage from Rodney King. They are comparing this. Apparently, they really gave this guy a beating, and he later died because of his injuries. That is the story so far. They've released 911. They released dispatch phone calls with the police and the dispatcher, and it doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound great. So I worry when they release this footage tonight. I believe it's being released at 8 o'clock Eastern. I'm sure all the major networks will be covering it. It'll be all over the social medias. But Memphis is bracing for rioting. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it doesn't happen. But let's be honest. At this point, should we expect any less? Should we expect any less? Davis further noted that Nichols' death was heinous, reckless, and inhumane, saying the video footage of Nichols' confrontation with authorities would be released in the coming days in the vein of transparency. I expect you to feel what the Nichols family feels, Davis said. I expect you to feel outraged by the disregard for the basic human rights as our police officers have taken an oath to do, the opposite of what transpired in that video. Everyone seems to think that this is really, really bad. That this is going to be really, really bad when this video is released. Davis asked the public to refrain from violently reacting upon the video's release. The family members of Nichols viewed the police body camera footage on Monday. Civil rights attorney and all-around race grifter Benjamin Crump, representing the Nichols family, called the video appalling, heinous, violent, and troublesome in a press conference, adding that Nichols' mother could not sit through more than a minute of the video. So, that's not great. That's not good at all. This is going to be bad. Something tells me that when this video comes out, unless they just seem to be overhyping this situation, which I don't think they. I mean, obviously Benjamin Crump, who is a race grifter, he's the new Al Sharpton, he's the new Jesse Jackson. He shows up everywhere a young black man is killed, anywhere remotely in the vicinity of police. That way he can profit from the loss and give nothing to the families of the victims, as we saw with George Floyd. But Benjamin Crump being on the scene will only infuriate the situation, will only instigate the situation, because he is a grifter. Memphis residents told the Daily Wire about their concerns surrounding protests and riots from groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa activists in the aftermath of the video of Nichols' confrontation with authorities. Since the Shelby County District Attorney confirmed its new George Soros-backed District Attorney, Stephen Malari, residents have claimed crime in Memphis has increased while punishment for criminals has decreased. So it turns out it doesn't really matter how big of a city you live in, how little of a city you live in. If there's a George Soros-backed district attorney, your life is getting significantly worse. Your life's getting significantly worse, and that's what's going to continue to happen in these cities until some of these mayors or governors step up and remove district attorneys who will not enforce the law and will not keep criminals. I feel like a broken record, like I'm sitting here every day and I'm just talking about crime and crime and crime and things going over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. It's the same problems every day, and nobody wants to fix it. However, what everyone does want to do is put Band-Aids on this wound. They want to put Band-Aids on it. They want to put armed guards at the cost of $750,000 a year outside of our schools. They want to put they want to hire people at $18 an hour to protect buildings and businesses in the Bronx on Fordham Road. Why don't we it's people recreating the wheel when there's a perfectly round object sitting right there. Just lock up criminals. It's not that hard. And what's going to be more important is that when this video comes out, we say what it's true. We talk about it on both of these shows all the time. Do not be afraid to say what is true. If these officers were out of line, if they overstepped, if they violated this man's civil rights and did something they should not have done, one of the best ways we can stop the violence is by being honest about it. Too often, we look at right and left and think if they believe this, we must believe that. Too often that happens. And the fact is, we need to tamp everything down. Everyone's got to chill out on both sides. If these cops did something wrong, they should be charged. If they didn't, we need to let the legal process play out. But regardless of what that video shows, you know there's going to be rioting. Hell, Antifa tried to burn down Atlanta last week after one of their soy boy pansy-ass bitches shot at a cop. He shot back, killed the soy boy. And they still got mad and still set things on fire with the gaggle of ugly people that were living in the woods in Atlanta. Closing out this article, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation told the Daily Wire authorities have no insight on reports or rioting that is coming. Because these people, like mushrooms, they grow in the dark. Like mushrooms, they grow in the dark. They're just sitting there festering it's going to be terrible. To watch this city burn. And Memphis is going to burn tonight. As long as it's not raining or it's too cold. Because, protesters don't like to come out in the cold. I guess we'll find that out tomorrow in Smithtown. Let's see how much these idiots actually hate me. That'll be a lot of fun. But don't worry, I promise you'll get content. You'll get video from that on Monday. Also, we've got another national story before we get to that about Daddy DeSantis down in Florida. Guys, once again, hit that Rumble button, share the video out, hit the like button on Facebook, invite your friends to like the page, hit those little 3 dots right at the top. It says invite friends, pick out some friends. Why don't you guys join the party? It's a good time. This from the New York Post. Daddy DeSantis indicates RNC needs new blood ahead of their chair vote. We've been talking about the RNC chairmanship on this show quite often over the last couple of weeks. The big running battle between Harmeet Dillon that we all seem to like and Ronna McDaniel that nobody seems to like. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if these Republican state chairmen have a spine. The big thing, we've seen Nebraska the Nebraska committees come out for Harmeet Dillon. We've seen Washington. We've seen Texas, I believe. There's been a few more. But now that DeSantis is coming out in favor of Harmeet Dillon, perhaps Florida goes too. I'm curious to see what our committee will do here in New York. If their past moves have been any indication, I'm sure they will just fall in line with Ronna McDaniel because many of the higher-ups in the New York Republican Party suffer from a unique medical condition where they were born without spines. So we'll see what happens. Apparently, there's a new YouGov poll out that says 90% 90% of respondents in the Republican Party say they want Harmeet Dillon. Only 10% say they want Ronna McDaniel to stay. So we'll see what these Republican committeemen do. We'll see what these chairmen do at the top of the chain. What they're promised. Because if Harmeet Dillon comes in, she's going to shake things up. She's already said she's bringing on Scott Pressler to do voter reg stuff. Scott Pressler, the guy been working his ass off. We talked about how much money Ronna McDaniel spent on absolute nonsense a couple weeks ago. We talked about how she spent $30,000 on candles and diffusers. At the time, I didn't even know what the hell a diffuser was. And then a few people made fun of me about that, which was pretty funny. But this from the New York Post. Florida GOP Governor Ron DeSantis indicated he wants new leadership at the Republican National Committee ahead of Friday's vote to elect a chairperson and fill other positions in the organization. I think we need a change. I think we need to get some new blood at the RNC, DeSantis told Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk in an interview on Thursday. The popular Florida governor and possible 2024 presidential candidate went on to signal his support for Harmeet Dillon, one of President Trump's legal advisors on the 2020 campaign and a former vice chairwoman of the California Republican Party, to take the reins over the GOP group, citing the failure of the party to make bigger gains in last year's midterm elections. Excuse me. I like what Harmeet has said about the RNC outside of D.C. Why would you want to have your headquarters in the most democratic city in America? DeSantis said. We have had 3 substandard election cycles in a row now, 18, 20, and 22. And I would say out of all 3 of those, 22 was probably the worst, given the political environment of the unpopular president in Joe Biden. Huge majorities of people think the country is going in the wrong direction, the governor went on. that is an environment that is tailor-made to make big changes in the House, in the Senate, and in the state houses all across the country, and yet it didn't happen. In fact, we even lost ground in the U.S. Senate. That's incredibly important. It's incredibly important to understand that not only did we not get the giant gains, we actually lost places. We lost in numerous places throughout the country, and it's sad to see, because we didn't have to. The fact that more effort was not put on Pennsylvania, where a household name with $400 million in his war chest in Dr. Oz, and I'm not saying Dr. Oz is the perfect candidate. I'm not saying he was at all. I'm saying under no circumstances should we have lost to a man who cannot make it from the beginning of a sentence to the end of a sentence. That homely-looking John Fetterman has no business being in the Senate, none whatsoever. The fact that we have 2 Democratic senators from Georgia, there's no excuse for that. We all know what happened in Arizona. No need to say it on this show. I'd like to keep my pages. We know what happened there. We know that people like Mitch McConnell pulled money out of places like Alaska and Nevada, pulled it out of Alaska to keep an establishment hack like Lisa Murkowski in the Senate, to stop the America First candidate from coming through. You can follow the money of what these parties are up to. It's all public knowledge. We know they pulled money out of Nevada late. It's what they do. It's what they do, and it all comes from the top. Even if it wasn't the decision of Ronna McDaniel, the fact of the matter is she is at the top. She makes the decisions. And we're going to have a tough fight in 24. We talked about it on the show the other day. If you guys didn't see it, rumble.com/LFATV, so you guys can check out my national show about all the stuff going on there. We talked about the Senate in 2024. There is a lot of opportunity there to pick up major gains in places that we have no business winning. I'm talking about Kristen Gillibrand in New York. I'm talking about Wisconsin with Deborah Stabile, or whatever the hell her name is. It's possible. I think she's in Michigan, my bad. We can win in Michigan, we can win in Wisconsin. We certainly can win in Arizona, because there's going to be a 3-way race there with Kirsten Sinema running as an independent. We should win that one, no problem. John Tester in Montana. Montana has a Democratic senator. How is that possible? Did you guys even watch Yellowstone? There's not a Democrat on that entire show. How is it possible that a Democrat represents Montana? In Ohio, they have a Democratic senator, despite the fact that J.D. Vance, in the last Senate cycle, won by 6 points. And, of course, the most obvious one on the chopping block would be Democrat Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Mountain Mama, Country Road, take me home. Got to do it. So there's big gains to make in the Senate. And if these people think that they're going to win it by doing the old school thing, by sending out mailers into the mail that nobody reads, no one reads your mailers, just in case anyone's listening. They haven't changed a single vote. You're living in the 80s. That's what people don't seem to understand. Quote, Republican leaders of all wings of the party are hearing what the voters are saying and objectively calling out what needs to improve, which means a change in leadership. And while I'm not seeking in the endorsement of any presidential candidate, I appreciate all representative support, Harmeet Dillon tweeted out. On Friday, Dillon will face off against incumbent RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel and MyPillow CEO in a secret ballot for the top spot in the GOP. It's happening today. So we will find out. It's a secret ballot, so we won't be able to know who voted for who. We won't be able to know who has a spine and who doesn't. I'm just going to go off on a limb here and say Ronna McDaniel probably takes the cake. Among the 168 RNC members, McDaniel has obtained the public support of more than 100, while Dillon has fewer than 30 backing her candidacy. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable how long it takes these party hacks to understand that they work for us, not the other way around. It's nonsense. And you wonder why people don't trust the party? You wonder why people don't want to help you? Maybe because you elect people who hurt The common person. That's why people don't want to get involved in politics. Because it's time for you to get out of your ivory towers with your $250 a plate fundraisers and get down on the street where we've been for the last 2 years. And if anybody's got a problem with me saying that, as I say, you can kiss my pink tattooed American ass. Guys, it's 9 o'clock. We're pulling up here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys head on over to rumble.com/LFATV. Jeremy Harrell's going to be starting it up in a little bit over there with Rise Up, his morning prayer session. It's a fantastic show, I'll be honest with you. He's really starting the day off right. Then we got Sean Farish coming on at 10. Jeremy back on at 11. Mike Crispy at 1, at 12. Then you get to see me again at 1, everybody. We got a whole slate of shows going on throughout the day. Guys, 9 o'clock. Make sure you hit that Rumble button. Share this video out all over the place. I want to thank you guys so much for all the support. As always, guys, I'll see you guys on Monday with some funny as hell video content. You're not going to want to miss that. You're not going to want to miss out on that. Guys, stay loud.